Hey guys, Matt here with BuiltRight. Today we're going to install the BuiltRight Industries bedside rack MOLLE panel system in this 2024 Ranger Raptor. Now this install will be exactly the same in any 2024 or newer Ranger. It's also very, very similar to the install for the 2019 to 2023 Ranger. The panels look slightly different. The mounting points are slightly different, but the installation process is exactly the same. So this video will work whether you get a 2019 or a current year Ranger. So let's get into what's included in the box. All right, so what we've got here is the driver's side kit. You're gonna have the primary panel, that's this big rear panel, I'll call it. You're gonna have a front panel. It's a two-piece system here. And then on the driver's side of the newer Rangers, you're also gonna have a patch panel. It's gonna look something like this. It fits here, and it's going to attach using 4 thumb screws. This particular truck is not going to need this patch panel because he's got an air fitting over there, so we're going to install it without, but I'll continue to show you. It's very straightforward. Moving on to hardware, most of the hardware that's used to mount these panels is actually your factory hardware, so we'll show you that in a second. Also included in this kit, we've got 2 small 1/4-20 machine screws. These are used to attach the 2 panels to each other along with the washers. We've also got 2 standoff spacers for mounting the panel to the light mount. And then over here, I've got some stainless hardware in the production kits. This is gonna be black coated stainless, but we've got the 2 longer bolts for use at the light mount area. And then we've got the 4 thumb screws that are gonna allow you to attach your patch panel into the primary panel if you need to. All right, so this installation is relatively straightforward. You're just gonna need to use the 2 included Allen keys. In addition to that, you're gonna need 2 Torx bits. One is a T30, the other is a T40. I like to use these socket head bits with a ratchet. You may have some other tool, that is just fine. But again, make sure they're in good shape so that you're not stripping out those bolts. Okay, so we're over here on the driver's side. I'm looking at this center tie down here. There are 3 tie downs. They're essentially identical in this truck. So we'll focus on this one and then you can repeat the process. So depending on who did your bed liner or if your truck has bed liner, this process may be slightly different. Matt's truck here, Linex did a great job of bedlining the bed, but not covering the hardware and the tie downs, which saves us the trouble of doing what I'm about to describe, which is that if your bed liner was sprayed over the hardware and the tie down, which is not uncommon, you're gonna wanna use a knife, a really sharp razor blade or a knife to sort of score around where your tie down and the bed meet. And then also to dig some of the bed liner out of this feature here so that you can get your T40 TORX in there without stripping it. So, that is a process that is not difficult. It just takes a little bit of patience. Sometimes use a needle nose plier to peel the stuff off. You'll get to it. So these bolts can be pretty tight. I've had these in and out a couple of times during development, so I'm not going to struggle with them much. But mainly just be careful not to strip them. So I'm going to use a T40 TORX on my Milwaukee ratchet here. I'm going to break it loose. One and the other. Keep track of these and set them aside. All right, so I've got 1 of the 3 out. Now I'm going to do the rear one and the front one, same process. All right, the last thing we're going to do before we put the panel in place is remove these 2 bolts here, holding the factory light in. These are a Torx T30. They should not be too tight. Again, just use care not to strip things out. All right, so these 2 T30 bolts, we're gonna replace these with that longer hardware I showed you. So you're gonna wanna set these in a safe spot in case you ever wanna use them again. So the next step then is to move this rear panel into place. That'll be pretty obvious. And then I like to start with this center tie down point here. You can find sort of a balance point on the panel here and hold the panel vertically. And then I'm gonna pull one of these bolts out of the tie down and leave the other one in. Just get that started. Get enough threads in there that you can kind of rest the panel on it if you need to. Grab the other bolt, do the same thing. Again, leaving it really loose. I'm gonna do the same thing here at the rear tie down point. I'm gonna have the 1 screw started in the tie down. Carefully lift it into place. If your hardware comes out and it's a little bit gnarly or dirty or rusty, it's worth using a brush to clean it up and then use some anti-seize. That's gonna pay dividends years from now. This hardware is in fantastic condition. Okay, so all 4 of these are in loose, and I'm talking very loose right now. I'm gonna get the 2 spacers and the 2 longer bolts in place here. One started loosely, and then the other. This will all line up perfectly. We do build some slots into everything in case your truck's a little different or it's been in an accident. But that's why it's good to keep everything loose, get everything started, and then we can tighten it down. So I've got these 2 in here loose. I'm gonna get them a little bit tightened. Since these are just to keep the panel from swaying, the real power comes from these lower tie downs. I'm gonna do those first. Everything is designed to be centered in the slots, so to my last comment, if you find that it's a little bit different or your bed liner is really thick back here, or you've got some other accessory, that would require you to use the length of the slots. But you're looking for this to be generally centered on the slots. All right, now I'll tighten up this rear tie down. Last step is going to be these 2 bolts. Again, these are stainless, but this is pre-production hardware with the Phillips. Yours are going to be black oxide coated stainless, and you're going to use an Allen key to tighten these down. Okay, next step is to get the front panel in place. You're going to want to slip that jog back behind the rear panel here, and then we're going to get one of the front bolts started, and we'll get them all tightened down just like we did on the back. All right, so I've got those started really loosely. I'm gonna tighten them down, but not all the way. I still want that amount of room to slip these around because now we're gonna attach the 2 panels to each other. All right, so I've got my 2 1/4 bolts started here into the threaded inserts on this smaller panel. The last thing to check before tightening anything down is just to make sure they are even here on top. They should match up top to bottom. Once they are, we'll tighten them down. Finally, we'll move back up front here and cinch down this front tie down. All right, so with that, our installation is complete on this 2024 Ranger Raptor. Again, this installation is gonna be very similar on a 2019 to current year Ranger. The only difference is the 2019 to 2023 is not gonna interface with this light, so that's an addition on the 24. On the passenger side of the truck, the installation is going to be exactly the same as you saw here, except that there is no patch panel. So we didn't use that here again because we got an air fitting here, but that's relatively straightforward. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please give us a call, find us in the comments, shoot us an email. We'll catch you next time.